Parents and students are trying to head off budget cuts planned for the Boston public schools. Earlier this year, officials said the shortfall for the year beginning in July could be as much as $50 million. Mayor Walsh plans to increase city funding, but there's less money expected from the state and federal government. Joining us are two guests who've been advocates for the system and for individual high schools. We'd like to welcome a parent with a child at Boston Latin, Kenny Jervis, and a parent who's also on the site council for Snowden International, Barbara Rosa. Thank you very much for being with us. I want to start with Kenny. There was recently a meeting at Boston Latin School with high school parents from around the whole city, a lot of city councilors listening. What kind of things were people talking about?
The main focus of the meeting was what the cuts were meaning to the schools and the programs that are basically essential to a high school education, essential to preparing our students for future education opportunities in our universities. High schools that will be losing libraries, high schools that will be forced to cut language programs. Ironically, O'Brien, our STEM Academy exam school, will actually lose a position in their computer lab. Cuts that, really handicap the overall education experience our high school students need to have as they get their diploma, and make sure that that diploma means that they're ready for future and higher education opportunities here in America.
Rosa, what have you been hearing about where your son goes to school at Snowden?
Well, cuts have been proposed to eliminate a Japanese teacher, a registrar, a math teacher, and a guidance counselor as well for social emotional support for the students. And they also propose to decrease 2 English teachers to part-time. This is what I hear because I am on the school site council, the business arm of the school. And that's just not acceptable to me, nor the other people that's on that board with me, and any of the students either.
Well, this is an international high school, so I imagine learning a foreign language is important, and this is what parents and students think about. But for your son, why is Japanese important? Well,
he really is going to need it in the fields that he wants to go into: engineering, robotics. And mingling with international students from all over the world. He hopes to go to MIT, or to do engineering, or any school that will do engineering, but specifically MIT.
So I can see that. Mm-hmm. Kenny, what about your case? You have a child at Boston Latin. What kind of things are they contemplating?
My daughter, this is her first year at Boston Latin as a 7th grader. But the cuts will immediately affect her next year, where science, was supposed to be added to the curriculum at Boston Latin School, and now that is going to be gone. I can't imagine any other high school in this state or country not offering science. And it goes around what is put on our standardized tests. So, we're really starting to run our schools not at an enrichment level, not as a get the most out of it, but what is legally compliant. And that is just not an acceptable way for us to run our education system. When our students are sending in their applications for higher learning universities, whatnot, they're competing against people from other parts of the state, other parts of the country, other parts of the world that are getting this education standard. Science is, not an issue. A foreign language is not, is in that curriculum every year, and we're going to end up, not too far in the future, having our students not able to compete for the positions that are available at universities and colleges that they want to get into.
Barbara, some of our viewers would say, in both your case and Kenny's, we're talking about young people who are probably going to go to college and do pretty well eventually. But on the other hand, what about the rest of the system? Because I think some of the things there could be programs for turning schools around that are trying to recover from underperformance.
Right, I agree. They should be able to still do that. You know, put the money where your mouth is. Fund and continue to fund and fully fund those schools. As a parent, you know, I'm going to look at these schools and I want to know what these politicians are thinking. Would you send your child to a school that's not accredited? Would you send your child to the school that has 4 grades and you only have 2 math teachers? Would you send your child to a school that doesn't have a librarian, and that's one of the key things you need in order to be accredited?
And explain why that's important for a student who has some hope of going to college. What does a librarian do?
A librarian is extra help, as far as I'm concerned, as in the ELA spectrum of a curriculum. They teach management. They're doing book management, but the way things are lined up and outlined in the rooms and the way to study, they can get that extra help from a librarian.
What did you find about that, Kenny?
The fact with the librarians in the school also leads to a bigger issue of our city and the safety within our neighborhoods. Many neighborhoods in the city, families and children feel unsafe after school hours, going to the library, going to those areas for resource outside of their school. So it also becomes a safety issue of is that library accessible to that child in a safe manner. I have met a gentleman, a young person last night that had told the group that we were with that in the past year alone he has lost 5 friends to street violence. His mother does not allow him to go to the library after school for extra work because of the safety issues that she has for him, and you know, obviously the trauma that is in his neighborhood. This is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and a ride to the library might not be an option. Going back to Barbara, Rosa, what about the funding here? Because you know the mayor says he's going to increase the funding somewhat, but you know, where's the rest of the money you need going to come from? You think?
It's there. I believe it's there. It's just a matter of making our schools a priority. First serve. There's money somewhere. I mean, they can give money to other functioning businesses, but they can't fully fund the Boston Public School. Doesn't make sense to me. They know that they have obligations from last year. They should fulfill those obligations and then add the $13 million on. Then you can tell me that you've given us an extra $13 million and see what you can do with it. That $13 million is like, you know, just being thrown into a hole. I mean, if you gave us $13 extra million, then why is it that I have to cut a calculus math teacher, a librarian, a Japanese teacher? Why do I have to do without a registrar? Why does my school have to do without a registrar, or any school? I don't think any school should be without, if you're a high school and you have 4 grades, without at least 4 math teachers, at least 4 English teachers full-time. You know, a guidance counselor, you know. The legal standards is 1 to 300. My school has a capacity for 360 to 400. So we had a part-time guidance counselor. Now you're going to leave 360 to just that one guidance counselor because it's just not a priority to you anymore. Or actually, there's nowhere else to cut in this particular budget. There's no fluff to cut. My school is strictly academics now.
All right, thank you both very much, Barbara, Rosa, and Kenny Jervis.
Thank you.